Thank you everybody for being here. Today is Monday, May 20th. I'd like to call this meeting of the Romeo Board of Trustees to order. It is 7 o'clock right straight up. Would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please. Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Bartniewski? Here. Vidal?
Yes.
President Malzahn? Here. We have a quorum. Okay, next on your agenda, you have the approval of the minutes. There are 3 sets of minutes in your packet. A regular meeting of April 15th, 2 special budget workshop meetings, April 29th and May 8th. Motion to approve or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can we do them separate? We can do them separate.
I'll make a motion to approve April 15th minutes. Support.
Motion by Edwards, support by Bartholomew. Discussion?
No, what you said, April 15th?
Yes. No discussion? And we can move on. Motion to approve the April 29th meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Edwards, support by Poznansky.
Vote for the first one.
Yeah.
No, I asked if there was any discussion, and then no one said anything,
Or
so I
should we
moved
vote on
on.
it?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One. Monday, April 29th minutes. We had a motion by Edwards, we had support by Poznansky. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then the third set is Wednesday, May 8th. Another budget workshop meeting.
Make a motion to approve that.
Motion by Bartholomew, support? Support by Poznansky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this time, we have the approval of the bills in your packet. You have council bills and the check register report. I would like to just take just a minute and point out, if I can, there's a check, it's vendor number 0195 on the first list of your council bills. 10 items down from the top. It's for $7,500 for Stewart, Revay, and Whipple. That is including the original $4,000 that was approved for the forensic audit report, and additional time that Jamie Hems came back out to complete that project.
That's what we approved at that special meeting.
Well, we approved $4,000 at the special meeting, and then the additional time, I was not aware that she was coming back out until she came. And then on her second day, I asked where a budget or projected cost would be. So she had that sent over, but at that time, we just decided that it was better to have her complete the work since she was already here, and just verbally mention to you that this should complete the forensic audit. All of those items that were of concern have been reallocated to the proper funds. There was nothing that was missing. It was just a combination of deposits, accounting errors, general ledger entries that had to be corrected. So that process is complete. We're still in the works of actually making the adjustments, but everything has been identified. So that should complete that work. Any other discussion on the bills?
I do have a question on the budget.
On the budget?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a question. Well, in March I had asked you where the presidential pay was coming out of, and you had told me the first one under elected officials. But then in April I noticed that the village president money went up. So I'm wondering where did we move that? It's on the. No. Where did that come? Where did that get transferred from?
It got transferred from the administrator's salary that was under the clerk's, because that was one position prior to the ordinance being adopted. So there were 2 line items, the clerk's salary and the administrator's salary, that appeared still in the general fund, but under a different number.
Yeah, that's what I'm just wondering where it
And
came
that's where it got
from.
moved from.
And then also, with that same item, it says for the current month, only $325 is what you received as salary. Shouldn't you be getting more than that? I'm wondering what that,
I'm sorry, where are you seeing that? Because I don't see where.
still under president,
Mm-hmm.
under current month, $325.
Yeah, I don't know why that's there, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd have to check and see with Renee what that allocation was for.
Okay. Because that sounds like just your meeting pay.
And it-
Right, the monthly, it could be.
That would be that with the extra pay in there, correct?
Well, because it's not a full month,
Well,
it's not gonna be.
right, so my salary is broken down into two. I have the elected officials, the 16,200 is with the budget, and then the 3,500. The 3,500 is the per meeting charge. That's the base. So it could be that that current month of 325 is just
Meetings.
that meeting.
Yeah.
And then the 1425 would be the monthly allocation.
Okay, but I guess what I'm wondering is you didn't get paid the extra money, or it just isn't reported correct?
Didn't get paid the extra money.
For the $30,000, the extra money that you requested, that the 325
It
would
should have been
include
that, if I'm reading this correctly, it should be the 1425 plus the 325.
Okay.
The two different
That just seems
salaries.
okay, that just seems backwards to me.
Salary of the elected official, and then,
Yeah, but
Mhm.
under amended budget, it should be coming out of your same line. If there's 1850 here, it should all just come straight out of village president line.
yeah, all I can do is inquire with Renee as to why it's classified that way and report back.
Okay.
But that should be the corrected amounts.
I guess I'm just not I'm not an accountant.
Me neither. Are there any discussion on the bills? If not, I'll have a motion to approve the bills as presented. There are two amounts, $104,053.51.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
And then that second amount, $420,958.57.
For $104,053.51.
That's for the check.
And what's the other one?
$20,958.57.
$20,958.57.
You still need support?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll support.
Motion by Edwards, support by Hart. Roll call, please.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion carried. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. I do have a request, if I could please add two items to tonight's agenda. Under unfinished business, item E would be the HDC appointments. That was on the table in front of you. I received those on Friday. And then under new business, item K would be Planning Commission updates. Mr. Chair, Jim Stegner was present to give us an update.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda with those two additions.
I have a couple requests. My first request is to ask if we could move the RRC presentation to the top so that Dominic didn't have to sit through all of the meeting in order to do his presentation. If he would be so nice to do that. And then, I guess, HHHL. I think it was, I had asked Clerk Trapp, I think it just got forgotten. It's the policy about adding agenda items.
Oh, okay.
What are you asking to move up?
The outlet J,
J up to A.
Okay.
All right.
right up to the top.
Yes, please. No, he doesn't have to stay, he's already tried to drive
Right.
in.
Well, then I would make the same request for the Planning Commission
I was just gonna
updates.
say that, too.
Right, so we could move both of those items.
JK to
Right,
A
to
prime
A and
and
B,
A.
yes. mhm.
And
Okay,
B.
so you got- you're A.
L is adding agenda items. Agenda items. Okay, I'll amend the motion. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the moving of J and
K.
adding B B, moving up B, Planning Commission, and then adding L, which would be adding agenda items.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry.
I can second it.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to correspondence. I just received one letter, actually it came in the email today. It was from a Richard Rosenberg of Bruce Township. He had some concerns over Parks and Rec, utilizing possibly another structure. I don't know, he CC'd a lot of other people on this commission, but as it happens, I had a meeting today in Elmont Township along with Richard Corey and Susan Brockman, and we are actually looking at some other options to bring forward as some possible partners with our Parks and Rec. So I'll be reaching out to Mr. Rosenberg just to see if he wanted to be involved in that process. That's it for correspondence. At this time on our agenda, we have a public forum. Anybody who wishes to address this board on agenda items only for this evening? Anyone? All right. Hearing no public input, we'll move on to officer reports. I typically give an oral report of the president's report and the street administrator's report. In the essence of time, out of respect for the lengthy agenda, I printed it and I put it in front of you. It will be included in the minutes in what you see, but I didn't want to bother taking time to read it tonight to move things along. I did just want to point out item number 6. You also had approved a gap funding analysis done by Stuart Bouvet and Whipple. That work was completed. Mr. Bouvet came, and Paul Bailey, excuse me, came and met with me last week, and I have approved that submission. He found basically no errors, no negatives that we had to address at this time. When we get the SAW grant results back in of the infrastructure work that does need to be fixed and addressed as an immediate need of attention, we may need to take a look at this. But right now, he thinks we're funded appropriately for our status in our sewer. So just pointed that out. All right, we have the clerk's report next.
Okay. For my report for May, I just have, for this report, it's gonna be a little different. I just have a few people to thank for a few different reasons. First, I'd like to thank Chris and Diane Smiles, village residents, for the recent remodel of the bathroom at the cemetery. The old toilet and sink had to be replaced along with the flooring. The Smiles took care of replacing all of those items and even painted the bathroom, all at their expense as a donation. And I'm very thankful for their care of the cemetery. Also, recently my father passed away, so I would like to thank Bob, Randy, Nate, Sherry, Christine, and the office staff for coming to pay their respects, and Mark and Matt for helping send flowers, Megan for your words of sympathy, DPW for your flowers, and the office staff also sending support and lunch to my family, other members of the community, including the chamber, some local businesses, and other neighboring local municipalities came out to show their respects. So I just want to say thank you. And that's all I have for me. Thank you.
Okay, officer reports. We have a report from our treasurer now.
I attended the Macomb County Treasurer's Breakfast Seminar on April 18th, and that's where I had the opportunity to interact with all the elected officials and get some really hands-on information, which was kind of a cool experience, just to meet all the individuals and just know someone that you have now a face with a contact in that regards. I just want to share with the residents the Payer Express that I had indicated about processing the credit cards on the website. I put that actually on pause for right now. I'm working on a better solution for the residents, and it's going to be much more cost effective, and also for the village as well, because that Payer Express was going to create additional fees that hadn't been communicated to me. And so therefore, I thought it would be best just to put a pause on it. Okay. I'm in the process of opening up the OPED fund account with MERS. Should probably get that information within the next week or so. I'm excited to be attending the BSNA software program this Wednesday, and I'll actually be driving with the deputy of Bruce Township. He's actually going to carpool with me, so I appreciate, and it'll give me the opportunity to interact with him. And that's the whole tax system database, which I'll be able to have more hands-on, accurate information. So when I'm discussing that with the residents. And then also, I'll be having a one-on-one training June 5th where there'll be a trainer that'll actually be coming right into my office, and we'll be getting the tax roll set up to get us better prepared for the residents, and those will need to be mailed out the first week of July. So a lot of progress, a lot of training has been going on, and I'm also going to include in the tax payment a newsletter just outlining some additional questions that I've been getting the same questions from residents, better explained. And I was also just made aware last Thursday that I've been learning and training and reaching out to the different municipalities. And I have been challenged with posting through the cash receipting system that we have, that hopefully at some opportunity we're going to be able to increase the capability of that. But I didn't have access to the general ledger. So some of the unreconciled accounts has probably been due to me not having access to that database, which I'll be going and doing some training on that to help with that in that regards. So do you have any questions for me before I proceed?
I just wanted to point out real fast, just to the trustees new, I believe your BSNA training's about $975 or so, is that correct?
Yeah, for the
Okay.
one-day training, but what that's going to do is it's going to actually provide the database so that I have every accurate totals mailed out to the residents, which is like around 3,600 residents.
Okay.
Okay, so even though it sounds like it's, a lot, there would be no capability at my level to get that.
Is it an annual?
No.
No, this will be just once he shows me how to get the database set up, then the next year, it'll be, you have to have the hands-on training.
Will that come out of the treasurer budget?
Right now, it's gonna come out of our education and training budget that we have, that we set,
Okay.
that big pool of 5,000.
Okay, and
Anything
that-
else? Oh,
Yeah, and I just want to share on April 17th, there was an incident where I was in my office, and for most of you that have been inside of the office, there are swinging gates that prevent anyone from coming inside of the building, meaning inside into the office space. And I was processing paperwork, and I heard the swinging doors open, heard an employee say, "May I help you?" And with a matter of seconds, it was a vendor owner, and they were demanding to speak with me. Well, I was startled, and I was taken back, of course, by that unsettling approach into my private area, considering I'm responsible for account information. And so during the next several minutes, I allowed the vendor to speak their concerns because of my background and experience in situations like this. Sometimes it's best just to allow that particular person to get their concerns voiced. That's when it was brought to my attention that the vendor had been notified by someone from the village office that I had refused to sign a check to the vendor. They also continued to threaten to sue the village of Romeo, any prior administrator, and including myself. Now, once that vendor threatened to sue, all lack of communication done. Time to leave. And because of my training and experience, I allowed that vendor to voice their concerns. That incident happened on April 17th. It was at the end of the day. I collected my paperwork and made a decision that I may have not had all the entire facts, and I signed the checks that were presented to me to sign as the treasurer. The next day, I went to, which was 8 o'clock in the morning, very next day, I went to my Macomb County Treasurer's seminar and engaged in conversation with the professionals, who then advised me to speak to Mark, which I have spoken to Mark, and in turn I've spoken to Chief Dan. And that's when we decided to bring it to the board, just so that we can prevent any further incidents from occurring, to maybe have some, and I'll turn that over, to questions, but I feel that we need to have some form of barrier from where the resident or whomever comes into the office, just something to barricade, not barricade, but maybe a locked door or some form of, just protection from us, so that they can't approach in on our office space.
Right.
I have a question. You mentioned that someone informed that person that you would not sign the check, someone within our administration or our office people? And that's what sent that person directly to you?
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked into that part of
I have
our
looked into
staff?
that. Mm-hmm.
You've talked
Yep.
to that person?
Well, I was alerted to the situation that Sherry's referring to, not by Ms. Maddox until today, when did I actually speak with her about this. But there were several other staff members, actually Chief Dan came to me and alerted me to the fact. We talked through it, and I met with the other staff.
Because they put her at risk.
Talked over that, and we're all in agreement as a staff that we don't want to really work under that sort of environment where we're on camera, where we're behind some sort of glass. In the experience of the longevity that we've been there, we've never really had an issue. Most people stop in the front, they wait to be invited back. They, there's a few staff members that certainly, come back to turn in their reports and stuff, but we're just gonna make a conscious effort to, greet them sooner when we hear the door open. I did indicate to Sherry that, she does have a door that locks on her office, and certainly if she's working on sensitive information or something that she would be concerned about, she does have the ability to lock that. She also does have a panic button in her office. There's also a panic button out by the front counter that's monitored by our police department. So I'm pretty confident that we have measures put in place that should there be a problem, that
Well, my question
we
was,
feel safe and secure.
a staff member or an administration person referred that vendor and said she wouldn't sign it. Have you talked to that person?
I have.
Okay, that was my question.
Is this someone like we're currently working with?
It's somebody that's in our staff or whatever.
Yeah.
Because she shouldn't be frightened. Our village office is an open door policy, which is great. That's the nice thing about the village.
Right, absolutely.
You can come
We
to
want
that counter,
people to
you get
understand,
greeted.
right.
And this person was obviously tipped off to come in and vent his frustration or her frustration, whoever it was, don't know who it was,
Right.
at our treasurer, because what we don't want it to start looking like is the glass bubble.
Absolutely.
We don't want that.
No, but-
So our staff needs to
Right. We want
whoever they're
everybody
talking to
right.
refer to you and then let you handle what's
Absolutely.
going on.
Yep,
That's how it
yep.
needs to go.
I feel confident that we've addressed it, and we'll put measures into place to make sure that
Don't
that's.
Does
be
that make you
afraid.
feel safe?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
don't be
I,
afraid.
you know, it's, you
We're
know,
sorry that
I'm a
happened.
lifetime resident. I pretty much know
We'll
everyone in
handle it
this
our end.
community, so,
Right.
you know, I
Yes.
don't feel in that regards.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
All right. Is there anything further? I just want to move on because I know we're under some time constraints. So thank you, Sherry.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Sherry.
All right, we have trustee reports. Is there anybody from the round table that wanted to report on anything this evening?
I do have a few things. I'll try to say them really quick. Along with a couple of our members of the Planning Commission, were able to attend the Citizen Planner class. It's a 7-week class. Lots of great information. We graduated, yay. Doesn't by any it doesn't by any means make us a professional, but wow, a lot of great information. I would love to actually see maybe everybody in the Planning Commission to eventually get onto into that class. It was just really good.
Everybody is welcome to attend that. There's a cost. We only get 2 scholarships per year. They were lucky enough that they had a third available, so Megan was able to take care of that and get her tuition paid for through that third scholarship. It typically is reserved for our Planning Commission members, so we offered it to 2. The new chair, Jim Stegner, and Mr. Grandstaff were the 2 attendees. Everybody else can choose to go. It just, there's a cost associated with that, so.
Second, tomorrow I will be attending a Fiscally Ready community training down in Roseville. I'm hoping to glean some more information from this. Next, in February, I along with clerk and president attended the General Village Law Training. Again, great seminar, but it was only 3 hours. Would have loved a lot more information. The DDA, I would love to announce that the DDA is redoing the garbage cans, sandblasting and painting them. And I would like to say thank you to Earl's Battery, who I might have a little partnership with, but they have volunteered to pick up all the garbage cans because we had to switch vendors, we had some issues. They're going to come pick up the garbage cans and take them there, and when they are finished, they will bring them back to the village on their own dime. So thank you to Earl's Battery. And then, new benches. We're going to be getting new benches downtown. Excited about that. As Randy knows, that garbage cans and benches, 2 of the things I came into the DDA like 6 years ago talking about. So somebody once told me, hey, squeaky wheel. Finally, it took 6 years, but got some oil on that wheel. And then lastly, I wanted to ask Mark if...
I'm sorry, but you forgot about the picnic tables in the
Oh,
park.
and we're going to get picnic tables that coordinate with the look of the benches.
Yes.
2 normal picnic tables and then 2 that are handicap accessible or mother accessible for your stroller. So that is very exciting. And then lastly, at the General Village Law Training, back in March, I had brought up the law regarding posting of ordinances, and that when you amend an ordinance, it needs to be published within 15 days. We made a mistake. It was not published within those 15 days. At this class, I did learn it was reiterated. Yes, it must be published within 15 days. So I would just like to ask Mark if he would give us a written legal opinion on this matter regarding the village president's pay amendment that wasn't posted on time. Are we in trouble? What is precedent?
I will do that if that's what the council wishes. Certainly I will do that.
Right. I don't know if you want to add that to the agenda, or, I mean, we've already secured our agenda for this evening, so.
Put it on
She
for
asked for a
next.
written.
Right.
Oh,
She-
I'm
You want
sorry,
to put it
I
on
didn't-
for next month?
Assuming that's not for tonight,
Right.
was not aware that it needed to be approved by them. So, sorry.
well, we have to spend council money to do it.
Right. Okay, so
Right.
we'll add that as an agenda item to next month, not to tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That is it.
Okay, anybody else for trustee reports? Okay, let's move on then, please. Committee reports, just real fast. The Fire and ELS Committee has not met, but I did reach out to Richard and Susan. I sent the letter that the board approved me to send. I had some initial response with some new figures. There's still some contention, or some discrepancy, I should say, in the amount of runs that they actually do in the village. So we've asked called for a meeting on Friday, this Friday at 8 o'clock, I'm hoping that the two subcommittee members may be able to attend in Bruce Township. It's also going to be, I asked Chief Dan to attend that with me as well. He's run some reports on the amount of calls for the first 4 months of 2019. I want to make sure that we're looking at actual logs, real numbers, and then find out where the discrepancy is, as well as then move forward with the budgeting numbers for that. They're pretty much looking for about $40,000 increase for 2019 and 2020 fiscal year. We did briefly discuss possibly sharing of a service. They're looking for a code enforcement officer. Might be able to utilize our police force to serve that purpose out in Bruce Township, and then they would reduce that contract fee by an agreed upon amount. So just looking into that. So
Anywhere
if
we
you
can
can
share.
both meet it on Friday, 10 o'clock out at Bruce Township.
Is that time switchable at all?
I'd have to send out an email to,
Okay.
yeah, if you want to send me some times that are better.
No, just like maybe an hour later or something.
At
We can
11
talk
a.m.
later.
Okay. The Armada Sewer Committee, we did submit the numbers that the sewer committee had reviewed, those percentage increases, and I have confirmed with Mr. Getzinger from Armada Township that the ball now is in their court. They are working on a rate study and their special assessment district finalizing, so that's sort of where that stands. And then AT&T, which is not a committee report on here, we are working with a limited lease. They want to access that site in anticipation of us actually signing a contract. So Mr. Clark and I are conferring some numbers with what Dixon Engineering wanted to charge us for their site plan review. So we're still negotiating out that. I'll let you know when we can actually get something together.
Okay.
Anything from the sidewalk committee? Just real fast.
Nathan,
Yeah, we just dropped those off at the office. The rest of the worst sidewalks of each quadrant. So something for us to start with.
Okay.
Not such a huge number as the first one, but at least we've identified the worst of the worst and
Okay.
have listed the addresses and that sort of thing.
All right.
so we probably would notify the residents of, pick which ones we're gonna do, notify the residents, and then we have some money, if the budget gets approved, that will take care of part of that.
We put $50,000 in the budget from the streets, by the way, just to try and address some of the sidewalks. There's a shared cost still, but hopefully move that project forward.
The 50 would have 100,000, the way it works.
Yes. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Item number 1, SEMCOG assessment report. We tabled this from March. Mr. Dave Borger is here. Also, Ms. Susan Stefanski is another SEMCOG representative. She's the one that left the blue packets that are at your table front. She's not going to address them tonight, but they're there just as a membership service, what they offer, what sort of support and programs that we could look at them. So review that when you have time. Mr. Borger, I'll turn this over to you. I'm sorry that the projector isn't working, so you could give a slideshow so everybody in the audience can participate, but
Thank you, Madam President, and people's sympathies for that. Trustees, appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you. You met Susan, or liaison staff, member staff. This is an update of a report we did back in 2015 on the financial plan for the village, in which you dramatically improved since that time, thankfully, thanks to the economy, thanks to your diligent efforts. But you still have some challenges in front of you, and Madam President asked me to update that prior report, bring it up to speed for 2019, which we've done in this report. And what we do is project out into the future to give you some guidance on where to go from there, go over the next 3 to 4 years in terms of your budgeting and internal plans. We also provided a number of recommendations based on that data and based upon comparable analysis of a whole number of communities in southeastern Michigan. SEMCOG is made up of 172 member communities. I think that's the latest number.
174.
174 in southeastern Michigan. So we get a lot of input from all of them and access to them. And we've done a number of financial plans for a number of those communities. So hopefully we have a basis to provide some foundation for helping you move forward. The process is, first of all, looking at the old data and then updating it to reflect the current information. Then we take that data and do a comparable analysis on it to all the other villages in southeastern Michigan. There's 25 of them. And then Madam President picked, I think, 7 or 8, 10 of them that were the closest to your demographics that we're using as kind of the foundation for the comparable analysis. We then develop recommendations from that analysis, or we develop assumptions to put into the financial plan, like rates of inflation, rates of millage rates, and so forth and so on. And on the expense side, some of the incremental costs that might be needed to fund infrastructure improvements or legacy costs and so forth. We take all those assumptions, working with you and also the consultant that's been working with you, James Betrano, who I'm sure you all know, to finally develop a plan, and then from that plan we develop recommendations. So because you have a full agenda, I'll focus on the recommendations at this stage, and then we can go back and look at if there's any questions on any particular addendums to this appendix and so forth on the comparable data. I can answer those questions. But if I could focus on the recommendations, because I know you're in the throes of budget preparation, and this is an opportune time to take those recommendations kind of one by one to see which ones might apply. And that would be on page 4 of the proposal. The first paragraph is to keep this financial plan updated, and better yet, develop a long-range, multi-year budget that can literally make it automatic. If you have a 3-year budget that just rolls over each year, adds that 4th year, if you will, you can then kind of have that 3-year planning horizon in front of you constantly, and even when you make amendments and so forth to the budgets, you don't make them for the current year, you make them for all 3 years, so you see real time what the impact of these amendments might have on 2-3 years down the road. So that would be one of the first steps I'd recommend you do. Legacy costs obviously incorporate a big part of your budget, and as a result, I know you had issues that surfaced with the state, and they've directed you to develop a plan. You've now reacted on that plan, and I'm pleased to hear that you've created an OPEB fund that, with MERS, as I understand it, that's a real benefit, because it's a challenge to fund up to, I think, 40%. I know when you're starting at 0, but the returns on that fund, just as it is for your pensions, is 7.5%, versus if you keep those funds in a interest-bearing checking account, they might be 0.5% or something like that. So there's a real benefit to, and we're encouraging all of our member communities to invest as much as physically possible into their legacy cost MERS accounts. Now, if you run into a financial problem, what people, and in today's economy, nobody's done that, but let's go back to a downturn. Even if you overfunded it, and this is really not what MERS would tell you to do, but I'll tell you to do it, and that is you don't have to fund to the full level of MERS in a given year. If you have a real budget constraint in a given year, because you're overfunded and gaining higher interest rates on it, you can underfund in a given year and still not violate the minimum requirements of MERS policies. So keep that in mind as you now move forward with the OPEB. If you have any funds that are non-discretionary, that are in your fund balances that are not earning interest to that same level, and I know you don't have any, it's all earning lower interest, anything you can put into there is encouraged. Employee health care costs are increasing, and I know I heard you had a presentation coming in for your health care provider to address that issue, and and I know I recall hearing that the health care package that you had used up till now is no longer being offered, so you have to find a new one anyway to deal with. So and there's also a lot of policies in place with the state for either a hard cap or an 80-20 sharing of premiums that most large majority of all communities have now successfully applied towards their healthcare policies. Your infrastructure needs funding, obviously. During downturns, people don't invest in roads and IT and all kinds of, speaking of IT, IT and all those sort of things. Now's the time when times are a little bit better and you've got a healthier fund balance to consider those sort of things. And the way to look at that is to develop a capital expense plan, an infrastructure asset management plan, combined with a capital asset plan, so you know how to fund it, that looks at the age of all your assets and develops their useful life, and then figure out what the replacement cost might be and projects out when that useful life is, and to lay out a schedule that shows where those peaks and valleys are, and then ideally integrate that into your budgeting process and that 3-year budget I talked about, that multi-year budget, projecting out and putting those funds in that budget so that it all adds up and makes sense. Easier said than done, but that's the intent, and I've seen many, many communities after 3 or 4 or 5 years of doing this that do have a closed-loop system that allows you to fund those needed infrastructure improvements. Grant opportunities are a way also, especially in infrastructure, for help supplementing it. And I heard you mention several grants already, and I'd encourage you to continue doing that. And the grant writing is a challenge. You can get outside people. Fortunately, SEMCOG helps you identify potential grants, but does not have the capability to write the grants for you. And finding people to write grants can be a challenge, and finding the time to do it is a challenge. Lowering your debt-related costs in your enterprise funds. This is a non-general fund. I don't think you have a lot of debt in your general fund. But in your enterprise funds, make sure that there's a possibility to negotiate lower terms, lower interest rates, extend the terms and so forth, and balance that with the fee. Excuse me, with the fees, so that you're making sure that it's justified. There's an opportunity potentially there. One area to bring all this together and sort of automate it is encourage you to purchase a Munetrix Level 3 subscription. Munetrix is an online database system and support system that actually was an offshoot from SEMCOG's efforts. There were so many, one of my peers spun this off, started his own business because he saw such a need for communities during the downturn especially to help with some of the financial aspects. He developed Munetrix and is now a very successful company that I'd encourage you to investigate and pursue. And the training they provide alone, it's no cost once you join, is in itself more than pays for the fee, plus the revenue sharing formula that you have for CVTRS itself is an automated tool for doing it. It more than pays for itself by about 2 to 3 folds. In other words, the revenue sharing you get compared to the time you put in to do it manually, it's a no-brainer to just do it for that purpose and that purpose alone. And finally, Betrena Consulting is a partner we've worked with. They can take this plan and help you implement it and move forward. SEMCOG we've got to help 174 communities, and we're focusing our efforts primarily on collaborative kind of work right now, because SEMCOG is a collaboration of 174 communities. We're steering a little bit clear of the kind of work we're doing here unless there's a request of a previous effort, which this was, to focusing primarily on collaborative ventures between communities. And if you have any ideas in that regard, and I heard one earlier on your Parks and Rec issues that are surfacing, and that's a potential area that we perhaps could help you on. But that's the recommendations. Are there any questions on the rest of the report or any of those recommendations?
Nope, I don't have any. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks,
right.
Dave.
I just wanted to point out real fast, because Dave assembled this report for us several months back, and he was unavailable to come then, so we sort of scheduled it out for this meeting. But when I looked back on this prior to tonight's meeting, I thought, wow, we're already doing a great job, right? So we've already got the 3 to 5 year plan, right, the budget. That's what we're looking at this year and we're adopting. The Munetrics, there's a webinar that I'm actually already signed up to attend, the webinar on that. We have our healthcare, it's gonna present some options. We've always opted out of the hard cap, as you know, which means that our employees pay 0% share in the cost of our health insurance. So we may honestly need to take a look at that because like he said, most municipalities, most businesses,
Most
anybody now just cannot afford to pay the 100% of that cost. We've already established our legacy costs that we need to close our pension because that was part of our corrective action plan, so we're addressing those legacy costs as best we can. And we're taking a look at our infrastructure. We've established that public improvement fund and already put some money into there. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 check marks. We're already on the right track, so thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate your time.
Okay, next up on our agenda, we have the Clinton Street property sale bids that were tabled from.
What are we gonna do, Jim?
Oh, no, well, that was under
That's
new
new. Oh,
business.
new bid,
We're gonna
okay.
finish old business real fast, which they should be fairly quick from this point forward. The Clinton Street property sale. So as last month, you asked me to initiate first and last offer from the interested parties. And you have both of those in your packet. So we have an offer of 8125, and then we have an offer for 100,000. What would you like to do?
And the hundreds of cash,
So we
no
want-
They're both,
contingency.
they're right, they are both meet the specifications that we already called out for. No, it's just basically a quick claim deed. They both have deposited earnest money. I'm holding those checks until we decide which bid we want to accept, or neither of them, if you don't want to
Great.
sell it at this time.
I think the council made a real good decision to put this back out, I suppose, how we just netted over 30 grand. So, take the highest bid, let's go with it.
Would you like to make a motion to
Make a
accept the
motion to
offer from the
accept the
Meldrum
highest bid
Brothers?
offer. Yes.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Fowler, support by Edwards. Could you please take a roll call on that?
Fowler,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
President Malzahn,
Yes.
motion carried.
You also have another bit of business that we tabled pending the approval of one of our offers, which is the ordinance that allows us to actually sell the property. We have to publish this ordinance, and then, so I'd like authorization to sign this. It was drafted, standard ordinance drafted by Mr. Clark.
Make a motion to authorize you to sign it.
So we have a motion by Fowler,
Support?
support by Bartholomew. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hopefully we can get this taken care
Is
of,
this an
gentlemen.
ordinance that's not just for this piece of property, right?
Well, we will have to fill in the blanks where it says, you know, the price and
It
what
has
it
the
is,
Sidwell
but
number on it.
yes.
So it's
And it will be
a common
published-
ordinance
It-
depending on the
right.
piece
It
that
will be
we're
published
selling?
with those details included in it. Yes. Okay. The last item under unfinished business is our right-of-way permits. Again, based on last month's, I presented some numbers. You agreed that you thought it was fair to ask a $250 permit fee, a $250 site plan review fee, appropriate inspection fees, certificates of insurance that they're gonna have of what's $1,000 deposit that will be refunded. So I drafted this right-of-way permit. I asked Mr. Clark to review it. He is in agreement that this should cover what we need to cover, and I'm asking for a resolution to approve a right-of-way permit fees as part of our normal schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the right-of-way permit fees.
I'll second it.
as written.
Okay. Can you please call roll on that?
Who's second, was that
I'm
Fowler?
sorry, Fowler, yes.
Okay. All right. Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
President Malzahn.
Yes. And just a quick follow-up, I have reached out to Arcadis. They're the ones that sort of initiated this work because they want to do those boring samples over in the municipal parking lot that's over behind the new Shell station. I indicated to her that it would be on our agenda. She found the terms agreeable, but I'll certainly get, once this has been published, I'll make sure that she gets a copy of the resolution, and hopefully that project will be moving forward. Okay, now we're moving on to new business, so item...
Yeah, did you have E
Oh,
as the
I
ID?
did add the HDC, sorry. I just received these on Friday. I had reached out to Randy Ingersoll at the clock dedication, and he indicated that he, was looking for an area to serve, and I said, well, let me see where I have, spaces available. So him and Jennifer Conrad both attended the last HDC meeting. They thought that they would indeed like to serve on that board. They thought it was a good fit. I left at your places because I just received them on Friday after packets went out, their letters of interest. So with that said, I'd like to appoint Randy Ingersoll, 232 Prospect Street, Jennifer Conrad of 232 Prospect Street, to be appointed today with their term expiring December of 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve Randy Ingersoll and Jennifer Conrad to the HTC.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Edwards, support by Settle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect, that makes a full board, so that should be good for them. All right, now we can move on to new business. We moved item J, MEDC Community Development Presentation, to the top of the line. So this is Dominic.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Appreciate
Romano?
it. Dominic Romano.
Okay. Yes,
Correct. Thank you so much. I'd like to pass this out for you so you can follow along. I would normally have a presentation for you today, but these will be good for you to have a takeaway.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. I really appreciate the time this evening. And here's a couple of extras. I don't know if you want to hold on to these
Yeah, that's fine.
for the commission.
Just real fast, trustees, Trustee Poznanski had brought this forward a couple of months ago, asking for a motion, not a motion, but some, basically buy-in, some support from this board to enter into this program. It was my concern, as well as Clerk Trapp's, that we weren't quite ready to do this program, but she asked if we could put it on the agenda, so here we are.
Okay, great. Okay, so my name is Dominic Romano. I'm with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, part of the Community Development Division, and particularly the Community Assistance Team. And basically, we work with communities across the state. One of our technical assistance programs that we offer is the Redevelopment Ready Communities Program. I can actually kind of hold up maybe my notes so that the audience can see. The MEDC is basically made up of three main buckets. Everybody knows Pure Michigan, not only across the state or the country, but also across the globe, around the globe, I should say. That's our promotional arm. Business development is used to attract and support business by creating jobs. And community development, which is my division, is the division that actually helps to create place. Our mission is basically supporting the growth of vibrant, diverse, and sustainable communities across Michigan. And we do that by using technical assistance and incentive tools, basically to help that growth as it is relative to the communities that we work with. We use the Redevelopment Ready Communities program basically to focus in to empower communities. It's not we're going to do the work for you, but we do have tools, we have resources and things that we've seen from best practices that have helped communities not just in the state but across the country, so that you can be proactive, that you're not just being told what to do or following the whims of economic times, that you can actually take hold of what's going on in your community as it pertains to economic development and real estate development and that kind of thing in your community. The Redevelopment Ready Communities program is a way to empower communities to shape their future by establishing a solid foundation to retain and attract business investment and talent. And it's basically a third set of eyes to look at all the things that you do locally, your master planning, your zoning, your development review process, how you recruit and train staff and board members, how are you promoting and marketing your community, and how does all these things fit together and work together so it's more efficient, more transparent, you can be more accountable, you can have people know just by looking at your website, how much is it going to be for me to put a shed in my backyard? And how much is it going to be for me to redevelop this 3-story building in downtown? It all should be in the same place, right? And it's a different way of doing business. It's about being ahead of the game. It's about having the vision and the heart and all the important assets and history of your community baked right into everything that you do so that you're protecting it, but also using it as a way to show the Michigan, Macomb County, whoever, this is what Romeo is all about. We're not going to come in and solve all your problems. We're going to give you the tools and things necessary, hopefully, that you'll be able to see will make a difference as you move forward in the way that you grow. On the 6th slide in the packet, you'll see this kind of circular, it's like a triangle with a circle because it is circular. It's the talent, business, place kind of relationship. You know, you see this all over the place. You know, talent wants place, place needs business, and business needs talent. Well, a lot of the trends these days, and it has been for a few years now, and it continues to be so, is that talent wants to live in special places. They want to live in unique places. They want that unique life experience for themselves and their families. They're not looking to move somewhere because the big company is there anymore. It's about how are you making place? Because quite frankly, a lot of people who are doing their business are doing their business from home. Or they're going down to the park. Or there's a community center where they can just pull up their laptop and they can, you know, consult with somebody. Those sorts of things. So how is that going to be important to you? And what are those important things, those nuanced, historical, cultural, community things in Romeo that you can highlight that says, this is the place you want to live. This is where you want to live. So that's why we focus on this program. And you do that through, we do that through using the RRC guiding principles, which is on the slide 7. And it's basically these 8 ideas about how things should help you run just about anything. You know, there was a couple years ago where we were asked by communities, you know, it's important, we think it's important to look at ourselves and say, how could we do things better? But are you doing that? And so we have, over the last couple of years, had to RRC ourselves because we wanted to be more transparent. We wanted to be able to help ourselves see through self-help how we could do things better, be transparent, be predictable, you know, when we go out and talk to people about how we can help, and be efficient, and build partnerships and relationships that will have meaning and will have this give and take that you can build a better future with. On the 8th slide, we've got our map. It's the Redevelopment Ready Communities map, and it shows across the state in all of our 10 prosperity regions. They're basically regions that we have where we coordinate state office and agency in teams so we can be more effective about how we do things. You can see that there are, well, I think it might be over this number now, but 257 communities that are either engaged or certified in RRC. There are 32 certified communities, 2 of which are in Macomb County, Roseville and East Point. And we have several across the state that continue to work with us, even in certification, to this day. And actually are good partners and help us you know, work with other communities, give guidance, and will answer questions, and do a lot of really good, I mean, I guess you could call it peer-to-peer you know, consultation. On the 9th page, you will see RRC is based on 6 best practices. These are practices that have been built typically by advisory board that we've used that are from academia, the private sector, public officials, nonprofit organizations, developers, and public service persons, because all these things touch all the pieces. Small business owners have touched on these. I'm going to go through all of them just very briefly. The first best practice is community plans and public outreach. This is what you would consider your long-term plans, your master planning, your capital improvements plans, your citizen participation plans, and how well those things match up to the vision of what your community wants to see for the future, going 20 or 25 years into the future. And, is your capital improvements plan, hitting the state benchmark of 6 years, which is the law, and, how well can the community know what that vision is and how involved are they in making that vision? Are your plans, on page 11 you'll see, are your plans, are they based on goals? Are they actionable? Are there timelines? Who are the responsible parties? When, where, how, and who? And the important thing here is how is the implementation going to happen? It's important that all these things also are related to each other. When you're doing a capital improvements plan and you have those big ticket items that you're trying to address, does it really talk about that in the master plan? Is that really what the community wants? Where do they want to start? What's the most important thing? Do your public safety persons know that there's going to be these improvements in 5 years? And how better can you serve each other and businesses on Main Street by everyone knowing what that schedule is and how readily available is that going forward? The second best practice is zoning regulations. Again, this is the kind of like the teeth to your vision. How does the zoning ordinance match up to your plans? And how better to outline the things that are needed for growth? In some communities we start to see some of these things on page 13, or slide 13 I should say, where there's a need sometimes for a mix of housing. It might not be the big mid or high-rise apartments, but for some people, the need to get closer to downtown can only be facilitated through maybe some row housing or that sort of thing. And what's the appetite for that? Your zoning can help to dictate that, and maybe it already does. Or flexible parking allowances, to help the businesses. If you're trying to grow the area around downtown and people are more so willing to bike and walk, you can do that through zoning. RRC best practice 3 is a development review process. How transparent is that process? Like I said before, if you're building a shed in your backyard or you're redeveloping a property in downtown, what's the fee schedule? What's the timeline? Who am I going to deal with first so I don't call 3 people? I want to know exactly who it is. And that way, it makes your business more efficient at the office so that you don't have to field a call from somebody who's just lost. It's about predictability and roles and timelines and being transparent. Smooth process for everyone. Best practice 4 talks about recruitment and education. Do your board members know? Are they prepared to field questions about developments and real estate law and things like that? And just maybe you have a good mix of legal, public service or marketing and that sort of thing that you need that makes a successful board. And how do you track trainings and how do you keep in mind those things that could be free training? If you're looking at budget constraints about where you can go and how you can do things, it's always good to have a reminder, to that person that might take over next year, here are some free trainings first, then we're going to go to the next tier and the next tier, so that you're not totally blowing the bank on just a few trainings here and there. The 5th best practice is community prosperity. And basically what that is how do you preserve that local flavor, that local nuance, the history? And it's basically built into your economic development strategy and your marketing strategy and your branding. In some communities you'll see the same kind of brand across the whole community, and it's a nice way to kind of communicate to other people coming to visit or otherwise that, hey, we recognize each other as partners and equals, and we want to be able to have this message of what is Romeo all about and how are we going to do this together. And you can do that through those types of mechanisms, and that's what that addresses. The last best practice 6, is based on redevelopment ready sites. This is kind of the cornerstone of the program. It's basically a way of trying to get those challenging properties within your community into the tax rolls. Effective. It might not be, it could be totally different from one community to the other, but you kind of walk down the street, you kind of look at the thing and you say, it's an eyesore, how are we going to deal with this? Well, there's a proactive way where you can set those properties up for success if they're either municipally owned or owned by a willing owner, to market and package them in a way and actually promote them through this program and other ways to have a successful end to that's befitting to the vision of what the community is looking for. It is a more proactive way, and so on slide 19, we talk about that a traditional way is get a phone call and you start talking to your teammates and whatever. The RRC approach is, hey, we know what properties need to move. We know which ones we've been looking at for 10 years. Let's make them go. Let's get them with the right owner and the right developer and see if we can't make this work in the way that the community really wants it and shape that vision and plan for that. On the 20th slide, there's a very long process about how you go through this program. And I am so willing to talk to anybody on the phone, come and visit with you here, grab a cup of coffee or whatever to kind of go step by step through this process. In fact, I think one of the steps to becoming engaged is probably already done. I don't know if Megan's gone through the whole, or if anybody's gone through the training.
Half of it.
One half, okay, yep. So I can go into more detail on that individually if you want, or at another time, about how that process works. But you're probably wondering, what is the value to all of this? Like I said before, there's a third-party review. It's an ongoing partnership. We will continue to give technical assistance and examples of how communities are doing things. We have an ongoing library/database of things communities have shared with us on how they've addressed certain problems or zoning ordinances or things that have gotten them through to certification. There's a continued technical assistance. When we have technical assistance funding for big ticket items, it's typically to a maximum of $20,000, dollar for dollar match on things that you may not be able to do in-house. We do have examples and guidebooks online that you can look at to do certain things, but they're just some things like master plans or zoning ordinance update that you're probably going to want to get somebody else to do. That's kind of a decision you do internally. But we have some technical assistance dollars that we like to use that kind of help you get closer to certification and alleviate some of that's financial stress. Once communities become certified, there are also pre-development services that we allow, so those non-hard construction cost things that you can do for sites that you might not have on your regular budget, like maybe a parking study or something like that might support a future development, continued general technical assistance, and possibly some technical assistance funds in the future. And site marketing assistance, we have a team called the Redevelopment Services Team. They will basically come to your community after certification, and they will take a look around and they will with you and ask you, what are your priorities and how can we help you market those? So it's a very specific team that's working currently with our 32 certified places to help them do that. We also do a lot of national marketing at events, through online services, cross-marketing through our materials, third-party websites, and it reaches a lot of different communities. And sometimes it takes an out-of-state developer to really tackle a project. It might just not get the teeth or the momentum here, and And you know what? If you're gonna get investment from another state in your community, that's not only a plus for your community, for those local dollars, but it's also great for the state. So it's not such a bad thing. As long as you set yourself up so that you know that this is gonna be the development your community wants. If you are looking to learn more about the MEDC Community Development Resources, you can go on our website, miplace.org. And on the last page is my contact information, the last slide. I can take any questions that you'd like. I can be on my way, and I would be more than happy to answer questions at another time if anybody has or wants to reach out to me. I'm just a phone call or an email away. So thank you so much. I appreciate the time this evening and the accommodation for moving me in the agenda.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Dominic and I finally touched base today for a little bit.
Yeah.
In the office, we played a little bit of phone tag
For sure.
this week. I
That's okay.
indicated to him that we were sort of already working with MEDC and John Paul, Jeff Schrader, to come and sort of assist our planning commission with that compliance assessment and starting to work on the master plan. So he
Sure.
was going to reach out and sort of see how he would work in conjunction with that, and then we
Yep.
haven't had a chance to follow up. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we can next week.
It had been mentioned when I had brought it up, well, maybe if I had a handout or some more information, so I said, well, what better than from his mouth than, to get us the information we wanted.
Sure.
So when or if we decide this is a go, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, and anytime. And we work with our partners, and I meet with the county typically once a quarter. And they have great resources there, and happy to work with them. Also, SunCog's a really great resource too. We meet and do programs with them. So any partners welcome to the table as long as it's to help you. And we recognize that we want to build those relationships. So I appreciate it, and hopefully we can have a stronger relationship going in the future.
Always great to have resources, so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job, Dick, really nice. Thanks, Dominic. Appreciate your
Okay,
time.
we're going to move on to new business to item K, which we moved to B, planning commission updates.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jim Stegner, the current chair of the Planning Commission. Got some weird sort of information from your last presenter. Have you been talking about the master plan at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because
And the fact that we don't have one. and
we're not in
ours is outdated,
compliance with
exactly.
state statute currently. And that's important to us because, all of us, because we can write all the ordinance we want, but there's some peril without a master plan that it can be challenged in court and rejected out of hand. So we need to do that.
Most of the time, we don't qualify for grants because we don't have an updated master plan, and there are a lot of reasons why we need to have that updated and current. So.
Well, I can really be brief if you've been discussing this. Well, I mentioned it's in peril, and I think the information for the current plan is, in some cases, 20 years old at least, so we need to update the master plan. The Planning Commission needs copies of the current plan. We have a lot of people who have no copies of the current plan, which I add is not online. It should be online. It would be helpful if it was. So these are all things you're already considering, so you don't need that much more from me on that. Now, we're working on two different ordinance amendments. The first one is signage for the industrial area. We have a pretty much finished ordinance, but we're going to invite the public to our next meeting for input, and then we'll kick it up to you guys and you can do what you want with it. We've also been asked to make amendments to fencing ordinances in town. We don't think we can do that because it's not in the zoning book, it's in village ordinances. But we do have a recommendation, which is, we think you should require a footing for all fences, and that would take care of a problem in the village of just setting blocks on the ground, which are called Jersey blocks, I guess, in one case. And if you made that amendment, I think that would solve the problem. So, what have I said so far? Let's see. When you do master plan, we would need outside help for that. So you have to allocate some cash. And I don't know whether we would do that by contract or on a,
Did Jeff Schrader come to your planning commission? I know he was going to, but again, him and I was not sure if he was
I
actually
don't
in
remember.
attendance.
I mean, we
Okay.
went through a whole bunch of stuff last time, so
Okay.
really that's.
But he was our MADC rep, and he was
Mhm.
going to come in specific to just do that compliance
Well,
assessment.
Steve Kaysen came, our instructor.
Right. He's the planner,
By the
yeah.
way, that was a great class, I thought. And they had great snacks.
Really
Well,
great
that's
snack.
very important.
If you're considering.
We even had a Sunday
Anyway,
bar
so,
for the last.
so really, that's all I have to contribute. I mean,
Okay,
we do need to get going on that master plan though, so.
all
And
right,
then we're guessing 6 months. So,
yes. And
So-
probably about $10,000. So, something that we.
When is your next meeting that you are inviting the public to?
I don't, the first week of next month, first Thursday,
Okay.
15-day notice, you know all about that, so. So that's all I have for you, so,
All right,
And that'll be specific to the signage in our industrial.
yes, you'll see that right after that, so.
Yeah.
So thanks.
thank you, thank you, Jim.
Give them a heads up out there.
Of
Right,
overlapping
well,
the
that's
industrial.
the reason that facilitated that, because we have two business owners that have had an outstanding permit application for, I believe it's going on near 2 years, that it hasn't been addressed properly, and we needed to have, our current ordinance only is for the central business district. I should say that there's a small one for the industrial park, but it wasn't encompassing what the real actual need is out there. So I asked the planning commission to take this on a couple of months ago, and yeah, so they're finally looks like they're ready to come to us with a suggestion, so
Good.
hopefully we'll have that. Okay, now, back to order, a new business, A, we have a farmer's market special event permit. Kelly Stevens apologizes, she was unable to attend tonight, nor Lisa Hall or Joanne Charbonneau. So I said, well, I'll just leave this on the agenda and see if we can't get it approved, because it's supposed to start June 1st.
Not far away.
So I didn't want to wait until the next month. Standard maneuvers with just basically reserving the village park for the vendors that are signing up there. Joanne was a vendor in previous years, and she's willing to sort
You need
of
a motion?
organize and take it on. So I would love a motion.
I'll give
then.
you one, you got it.
All right. So motion by Fowler to
I'll-
approve. What? Is your motion to approve this?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll support it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
What's the next motion you need?
Okay, so the utility billing ordinance, so we reviewed, Catherine and I reviewed this with Mark. If you take a look at the next little packet, I provided a copy on the utility billing of our actual water bill. It's what every resident gets. You'll note that we have a due date, a billing date, and then we have an after date, right? Basic charge, and then you basically have, 30 days to pay it. And then according to this language in the ordinance, paragraph B, they give an extra 15 days after that, which creates a paperwork nightmare for us in the village. I don't know any other municipality or any other biller that gives you 30 days once they issue a bill, and then if you don't pay it, they give you another 15 days on top of that. So the language here between A and B is conflicting. It was recommended to us by Mr. Clark that we just strike out paragraph B. So we have a bill date, you have a due date. If you don't pay it, then you're going to generate the late fee. Right now, as is, if we generate the late fee, but if you pay it within the extra 15 days, then the input has to be for credit on your next month's
Credit, yeah.
utility bill, and then the money has to sort of be reallocated, and it's creating a problem for Sherry, and we just think 30 days, I think 30 days is sufficient, pay the bill, or you get the late fee after
All right,
15.
so we need a motion to amend our current ordinance to strike paragraph B, is that
Yes.
correct? I'll make that motion.
Support.
Okay, motion by Hart, support by Bartholomew. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And this is just paragraph B.
Paragraph B, yes. Okay, so we-
But you want to keep the 10% penalty though, right?
Yes,
Is that in paragraph B?
Right, so you have to amend, as you said
Oh,
in your
okay.
motion, you're gonna have to amend A
Okay.
to include the
To include the
10%.
10%.
But delete B because of the confusion that Ms.
Right.
Malzahn mentioned.
All right, so-
all right, so we're gonna move
I
it.
guess I have to rescind, we're gonna, I don't know. as far as
You're
procedure.
okay.
I think you said it right.
I'll present you a proposed ordinance for
All right.
next month's meeting, so that you can formally adopt the ordinance amendment.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, on our next agenda, utility billing, maintenance fee. If you reviewed your packet, Tim and I, when we were looking for, talking about our goals and objectives plans, what do we want to do? What infrastructure may be outdated? What repairs might we be anticipating? And one of the main projects that he talked about was the need to replace our utility meters. They're outdated. Most of them don't catch a lot of the flow because they're not as sensitive as the new equipment are. We get a lot of misreads, so that generates a lot of phone calls when people get an estimated bill, and then we gotta go back out and do all that. As well as he identified a couple of areas that will probably need some water line maintenance, significant repairs. When I look at the budget, there just simply isn't any money for it. I looked at other municipalities, New Haven, which I included a copy of their utility bill in your packet. I really like the structure of this bill. I would like to model this on our website because I think it's very clear and readable for any users that are looking it up. But all of these municipalities that I included all have either a ready to serve or some sort of maintenance fee. They're all making a capture on that utility bill for that rainy day fund. The cost to replace the meters village-wide should be probably about $500,000. We're not gonna be able to get there anytime soon, even at a modest administrative or maintenance fee. But if we don't start saving, then we're gonna have to use our general fund when it comes time for any necessary repairs, which is probably closer than the meters.
Does it make sense that we would be updating and changing meters as we go, or do they all have to be the same type, or?
And Tim has indicated that they do that. When they have to go in the house to make a repair, they will install the new meter. But this company, they're suggesting that they not do that work in total because this company can do it in bulk. They actually make all the appointments. They're available to come in the evenings or on the weekends or Sundays where our DPW guys, workers, they just don't have the time to go in. They may focus on one quadrant at a time. Tim would like us to upgrade to a drive-by meter. Right now, just as a point of reference, and I think you asked me that at one of the budget workshop meetings, we estimated that it costs us about $10,000 every quarter to put out our utility bills. 3 guys, 3 trucks, each drive a quadrant. They walk it, they go in everybody's backyard and read those meters. If we switch it to a drive-by meter, it would be 1 guy, 1 truck driving, the data is collected, and then it's just uploaded so that Donna doesn't have to manually actually input all those readings. And then it takes about 25 hours for Cindy's time, 5 weeks. Same thing with Sherry, to actually process the bills, to open up all the mail, to take a check, to put it into the computer. All of that would be assisted by having this electronic meter technology. There are 2 different meters, if I'm understanding it correctly. There's the drive-by, and then there's the
They're the same meter. It's just 2 different basic programs. One of them, the base cost was like $50,000, and there's a maintenance fee of, I forget what it was, I don't have the info in front of me, like $15,000 to $20,000 every year. The other one, the drive-by, the base cost is like $35,000, and the update, or the maintenance fee is like $3,000 a year, so.
And that's the one you're recommending?
That would probably be the most cost-effective for the village. I mean, the
We're
only
not looking at
only
doing
benefit
anything
with
right away anyway, right?
with the other way is Donna would be able to sit at her desk, and when it's time to read meters, all she'd have to do is push a button and the meters are read. Or if somebody has a discrepancy on their bill, she could punch in the address and say, well, according to our records, you know, you at such a date you have used so many 100 gallons, you know, that hour. That would be the only main difference.
So you'd have to update our current meters.
A lot of, in the winter time, when we're not plowing snow, we try to set appointments and update the older style meters that are out there. So a lot of the meters that we have in place right now, we would just have to add the radio transmitter to them.
So you would add that to what's there to, so you can
right,
hit it from the street, right?
to what's there.
Basically like a scanner going across the,
Well, the ones we have now, I
Grocery
mean,
store?
are touch read. I mean, we still gotta walk up to it with our scanner.
yeah.
Push
to
the
do it
button
from
to
the
read it,
car.
but then we still have to write it down in a book. And then we have to take that book back to Donna. Donna has to go page by page, manually enter it into the computer to figure out the bill.
But to do it from the car, you have to use some type of
Return on
scanner.
investment.
The car,
this is
yeah, the
pretty
car,
quick.
all you have to
Okay.
do is drive around
We
and
need
it
to do a
downloads
study on
it,
that though, I mean,
you know, to a computer and
Right.
take it back and,
decisions.
So would the
Well, she
sensor
plugs
from
it
the
into the-
meter be able to be picked up that far away from the drive, or?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean, it'd be the same with the, if we went with a radio tower. We'd have to put a tower like on the top of the water tower to be able to transmit out to the DPW, but, you know, that's
Well,
pretty
something we
pricey.
were wondering at, when we were talking about it at the budget meeting was, is this the meter that you're gonna have to go inside the house to change, or is this something just purely done on
You're
the outside?
still gonna have to
of the
go
house?
inside the house to change the meter.
So we're
To
gonna have
update,
this, have to have this company, what if
yes,
someone doesn't let the company in the house?
they have to. They have to let the company in because it's in our ordinance that we are allowed access to that meter.
So this is something we know on the horizon, we're gonna need to do. What you wanna start doing is building in preparation for
And
doing
it'll
this.
also help the revenue, because you're gonna be picking up the water that's not,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Right?
it's being used, but it's not being accounted for.
Because the flow may be so low that it's
'Cause some of
actually
it-
not pushing the
Yeah,
numbers on
so
the
as
meters.
the meters get older, they slow down and they don't pick up all the water that goes through them, and all these new ones pick up every drop.
So before our water, we haven't raised the water rates in quite a bit of time. We adjusted the sewer based on the last study that Mr. Reve and Whipple did for us. But we've always subsidized the water rates from our general fund. And so we made that adjustment a few years ago so that it would be self-sufficient. And it is, but it doesn't allow for any capital improvements. So I think it's prudent for us not to raise water rates, but to assess a maintenance fee. And I'm suggesting just starting out with $4 a month, which would be $12 a billing cycle, until we get a better grasp or maybe do a rate study or see where we're at, just based on what other small local municipalities are doing in their
What
towns.
kind of money would that be?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how many, have you figured that out?
There's about 7,100 users on our system.
7,100?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you need to take some.
1,700, sorry, yeah.
1,700.
Would be awesome.
It's late, yeah, right,
And
Times 12?
yeah.
it's 12 times 4.
Well, yeah, but 12 each quarter. so-
Yeah, you need to do an official return on investment study,
4
right?
times
For-
4.
Yep.
When we, right, when we go to that water meter, right, we would have the company come and give us a presentation and basically calculate that out. With that said, whether we opt for the meters or not, I'm still looking at a fund that allows us to do repairs and
Right.
upgrades, rather than taking that out of our general fund if it need be.
What I just did the calculation, that comes up to about 81,600 for a year, based on the 1,700 users. If we did something like that, will we have a separate fund that money is in a fund and people know that is?
Well, water revenue has to stay in water. We're not
Right.
allowed to put that in our capital improvements fund just because it's.
But can we make a water capital?
There is a capital improvement line item
For water,
for water in that budget, and that's where we would see that,
put the money in
that
there.
money being
So it
allocated.
can't be used
and then-
anywhere else.
Right, just.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
just so we're accountable that that's what it is. It's
Exactly.
like the
I can't-
roads.
right.
We paid the
I
money
asked,
for the
right.
roads 12
Tim
times.
can't buy a snowplow truck with it.
Right.
as much as he would like to, he can't. But I think it's just important that we, again, are protecting our assets. So we've put all this money into our infrastructure, and we need to make a plan for keeping that, so.
Are we looking to do, because this would give us 80,000, based on the 500,000 you're talking about, at least is, it's.
It'll take you 5-6 years to
Yeah,
get
it'd take
there.
5 or 6 years, but if we can do it over a period of time.
If we go to the radio read system, it probably wouldn't be the 500,000. Like I said, we've already got a lot of the meters in place. So basically it'd just be a matter of adding the transmitter to the touch read.
And you were saying saving, it was gonna go from 10,000 a quarter cost?
Well, that's for 3 guys in a truck, plus,
Right.
the time for Donna, to input.
So it might save another
Right.
6,000 a quarter,
We would still need to
another
process
20.
the bills in the office, but, yeah.
But just the man hours, maybe that'd save us 24,000 a year. And if we can figure out what that is, I'd even like to see that go in that fund, just so it's earmarked.
Right.
And we're using it for what we're
Because
purposing
Tim
it for.
suggested that perhaps we just take a look at doing the industrial park over there. It's sort of separate. We could just
Be a good place
change
to
out
start.
those
Yeah,
meters,
it's not
right,
bad.
as a trial area, and then see how it's working for
And
us.
they're the bigger users.
Right,
yeah.
and I think what you said, that was like less than 50,000,
Yeah, you have to double check the numbers on that.
yes.
But
And there's the variable.
we'll work on that over the next, what, third quarter?
Yeah, I just didn't want, I didn't want another billing cycle to go by without, at least addressing it, to see if, you would be in support, in favor of,
What is the next billing cycle?
it starts July 1. So,
Well, then you gotta figure out.
June 1st is
Some
when
way
we read the
to,
meters.
right, when the bills go out July 1, right.
you gotta figure out some way to anticipate the variable of catching every drop and what that adds up, right? Because if it's 10%, that's,
Yeah, if somebody was doing a rate study, to justify a capital outlay on new meters, right, I'm sure that would be part of their
I'm sure if
equation.
they're 80% efficient, then.
Yes. Yes. So, again,
Speak.
it's my recommendation to start with the $4 a month. I don't know if anybody would entertain a motion.
I don't think anybody wants to, but I think it needs to be. I'll make a motion to adopt a $4 a month service fee for the purpose of building a
Maintenance fee,
fund.
yes.
For building a fund to do the infrastructure repair or upgrades.
So it's a maintenance fee, not a service fee, just to be
Okay.
clear, okay? Because that's what we're gonna use the money
Right.
for,
And
yeah.
that's what the key is. We're gonna use it for that purpose.
Yes. Okay, so we have a motion by Hart, with support by Edwards. Can you please call roll on that?
Fowler,
No.
Poznanski,
No.
Seidel,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
and Malzahn.
Yes. All right, motion passes 5-2. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, we have a tap fee schedule. Again, Tim brought this to my attention that when we have to do water main taps, we're basically losing money. We're not even recapturing the costs associated with that. And compared to other municipalities, we were extremely low for that fee. So I asked him if he could compare what he thought was agreeable, and he put this chart together and submitted it for the top portion. The bottom portion, when I thought we were gonna add this to the agenda, I also took a look at an administrative fee, because we have so much hours involved in Cindy, again, taking the phone call, processing the form, notifying the DPW, and then closing that out. That I think some of her time needed to be accommodated with the miscellaneous fees for the water turn on, turn off. We also got quite a few calls that demand same-day service. So our DPW leaves at 3:30, we might take a call at, 3:45 and say they need it read, this day. So then we're scrambling to try and call somebody back in to go and do that water shut. So to make
Because
sure.
it's an emergency or
Right,
because?
that's the clarification, right. So if it's really not necessary to do it same day,
Yeah.
right, if you're charged the same rate, whether it's same day or next day, I think everybody's gonna say, well, yeah, come and do it right now, right? But oh, if I have to pay double, you know what, I probably can wait till tomorrow, when it's more during business hours. So I wanted to put to double that fee, so $25 for water turn off, that's what it was. And you can compare that to this chart below, but add the $50 if it's for the same day, as well as a small $10 administration fee, again, to process that. So, I'd like a motion to adopt the new fee schedule as presented.
Were you gonna add the emergency
Oh.
shut-off fee on there
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
for after hours?
Yes, so we have an emergency shut-off, so somebody's water main breaks and they can't shut it off in the house. We have to call somebody in and pay them a minimum of 4 hours overtime, again, so we think that most of those fees would be captured on a homeowner's policy. If you have a water main break, probably gonna have some remediation that's gonna have to take place to get that fixed. And if we're paying one of our workers a minimum of 4 hours, we think there should be an emergency shut-off fee as well. Did you calculate out what you thought that should be based on the highest paid for 4 hours?
160
Okay.
would be a time and a half.
That's not on here right now?
It's not on there. He just mentioned that to me this morning, so I apologize for not having that fee.
That would cover holidays and stuff like that too, right?
Not holidays, because holidays different pay schedule.
Yeah,
Well,
probably don't
'cause,
have to.
We need to
Holidays
keep
are
somebody
double
at the fort.
time.
So, leave a turn off or shut off at the police station then, right?
So I
Chief?
mean, so,
Well, I mean, just in case something had,
right.
so I'll make a motion to have somebody around to take care of that situation. Okay, we move forward with the service fee schedule. The new service fee schedule.
Can we include, is your motion
Including the
include that
emergency.
emergency shut-off
Yes.
fee? Okay.
It's
Well,
not per hour, right?
Before you go there,
Flat
I
fee
still want
of
to cover the
$160
the immediate
is what he's
holiday.
suggesting.
What is the resident to do on the 4th of July? Let's say a water line bust. What are they gonna do?
Call
Now,
me.
before you.
Call them and
before you
shut
do your
off.
thing.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, since we're covering emergencies,
Right.
and this would be an emergency, would that still be included?
That fee,
Yes.
right, just the same
Okay,
fee.
so the 4th of July, then we can still call the police station or call the village of Romeo or somebody, and somebody will address.
Yeah, they'll call me.
Okay, all right, that's all, I'm good with it.
And we would, we would, in a sense, we wouldn't capture the full cost of what it's costing us to do that on a holiday, but at least there would be some capture for
Someone, as
that
long as the
service.
residents have served and it's off, and we can take
Absolutely.
care
On a
of
holiday,
it.
to cover
Okay,
it,
that's
you'd be having to charge like $310 to cover it.
I mean,
for
as
a
long as
holiday.
as long as the residents can be served.
Yeah, I
What we
see,
do
we do
now. I mean-
one emergency fee, and we don't get specific if we have
Yeah.
to eat on
Not on a
Just to
holiday.
shut the water off.
We have to eat a
Oh, we
holiday.
need, we need the key at the police station,
So you
right?
make a
Okay.
motion.
To include emergency
We have a
shut-off?
motion by Bartholomew, support by Krasinski. Can you,
Yeah, you can't,
do
and
a
after
roll call?
10, but before 11,
Stuff happens.
Pick a number and-
Yeah.
and people are already kind of not gonna be real happy, period. The water is going up in the basement.
Stuff happens.
Okay, roll call vote Bartholomew,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yeah.
President Melson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Tim, for.
All right. Next, we have agenda item E, the Mitt TV video service provider. I don't know if everyone had a chance to review the amendments to the contract, which is expiring June 30th. We initially did a 2-year contract. We were partnering with Bruce Township in the service that's provided. I think the service is exemplary and a tremendous benefit to our residents. Again, this is paid from our franchise fees, which are not taxpayer dollars. They are a fee that is assessed on cable users for cable service. So,
I guess my only question is why we're not going out for bid.
Well, it doesn't fall underneath our bid policy of which was every 3 to 5 years. Again, we just recently bid this out, and that motion was for a 2-year contract with the option to extend it.
No,
So-
we didn't bid this out last time.
Yes, we did bid this out.
No, we didn't.
We bid out our video services, and then.
Back when we did just the short-term one to get us to this too. We did
That's
6 to
correct.
9 months, so
We
we're
bid it out,
practically
and then when we reviewed those bids, after the 6 months, we said we were happy with the service that the Mitt TV was providing, and that we were going to enter into a 2-year contract with the option to extend that. So, I am suggesting that we do the same contract that Bruce Township utilizes, because again, we're partnering with them of a 95% capture of our franchise fees. That allows for 5% administrative costs within the village, and within the administrative staff, for a period of 3 years.
Is that what Bruce has? Did
Yes.
Bruce do a 3-year
I
contract?
believe they did, yes.
I'm also wondering, at the name change, that just confuses me, I don't understand. Is that just legalese, that we're changing it from,
Yes, that is my
Mitt.
understanding, that, yep, legal-wise, they changed that.
could you explain, Mark, do you understand what I'm asking?
I do. It looks like the name changed from the Mitt TV, or just Mitt.TV in the prior agreement to the MittTV.com. I don't know if that's just a name change of the business.
Right, yeah.
It's the same.
It's the same, right. It's the same 501c3 status. Right. I highlighted, obviously, the 2 paragraphs that we're changing. I made a note so that you would all be able to follow those changes, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, which was for the scope of services.
I'm also wondering, at the paragraph that was deleted, that, in A, in Exhibit A, number 3, that we're deleting, that to the extent possible, Mitt TV would coordinate with the cable television providers. We're switching it to that we would do that. I'm wondering, during this agreement, to what extent did the Mitt TV try to coordinate?
We all tried to coordinate that service. Zach personally delivered DVDs down to WBRW. We met with them. We sent them letters. We held other meetings, and they refused to air our programming. We went and met with Comcast Cable to see if they could compel them to do that. That's when we looked at possibly, splitting and getting our own TV signal that we could broadcast them, and the cost just really wasn't where we wanted to go, because the service is so readily available on the internet.
Live streaming
with
is-
live
So
streaming,
you're-
Roku, right,
You're looking to extend the current agreement for 3 more years?
3 years, yep.
That's
At-
what we're talking about.
Yep, 3 years with the changes in the agreement, as we've noted, at a cost of 90% of those franchise fee captures.
Was it
Which is
90
how
or
much?
95?
Which is what we do now. So
Bruce Township is doing 95.
which is
What
what
are
we
Right
do.
now, we pay a flat fee. We pay a flat fee of $55,000 a year for that. But because users are falling off
So
of
the
the
risk is on
franchise
Mitt
fees.
more than it is on us.
Exactly. We thought
Right, I
it
mean,
was
the
better
risk
to do a
is-
portion thereof, right,
Right. So
yes.
each got a
And we
little skin in the
anticipated,
game at this point.
And our expected revenue is like 75.
yep, which is about $10,000 less than it was last year.
Right. So, I'll make the motion
Okay?
to stay with the current provider for 3 additional years, based on this documentation as printed.
And you're authorizing, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I would like authorization for me to go ahead and sign this contract. Yes.
Authorizing you to sign the contract at the end of my motion.
Support.
Okay, the motion by Sedell, support by Bartholomew. Can you roll call for me, please?
And what we're doing is matching what Bruce is doing?
Exactly,
All
that's
right.
exactly what Bruce is doing.
And they're a 3-year contract,
I
so
believe
we're
so.
just partnering with Bruce.
Yep.
Okay, roll call vote, Sedell,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
No.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
And Melzan?
Yes. Motion carried. All right, then we have two additional items, Facebook policy and email policy. I don't know if you want to do those
Yes, they're
together or
very-
separate.
They're very similar. Good things coming up, new things coming up, but I just thought that we should also watch ourselves as we're doing these new things and come up with the policies regarding the Facebook and our emails.
Our personal or
No,
our
the village
PDA?
email.
Okay.
The village hall email, or, sorry, the village hall Facebook page. Most municipalities have it
What are you
There's gonna-
asking for us to do?
to create one.
Oh,
To create one, just to cover ourselves. There's gonna be a time someone posts something that's not right, we're gonna have to take it down. That way, Clerk Trap has a reason to say, well, hey, according to, you didn't follow our rules.
I think they're sort of common sense rules and rules that Facebook puts in play
Yeah,
themselves.
but it's nice to have it written down.
And they don't
Gives you
necessarily
something to
monitor
stand
it.
on.
Things that
Yeah.
if we, just like we currently run into, well, that's just the way it's always been. That's just the way we do it.
Right.
Let's make a policy, let's make some rules. I mean, there's so many communities out there that do it, we can glean from them. Just, I can't remember what they call it, but rip
So
off and
you're not asking
duplicate.
us, plagiarize, you're not asking to prove tonight, you're just saying.
No, I'm saying,
permission
but
to go
I
ahead.
think this is
agree.
an idea for us to do. Similarly with our emails, explain what they are, when they'll be shut off. Okay, right now, you don't have anything saying I can't take it with me when I leave, other than you've said that. Put a policy in place. I just think it's a good idea.
So these two policies were drafts that Catherine had referenced from one of her clerk seminars, clerk school, I believe, and sent those on to Megan just for review. I think
Yeah, I told her-
she was hoping that we could sort of meet prior so that we would have something to show you that was, personalized to us, but that didn't happen, and so these are here just for a point of reference. So if you think it's necessary, then we can proceed with drafting.
I think it's a good idea.
With drafting
And I
them out.
offered
Just-
to work with Clerk Trap that just because I came up with something doesn't mean she has to have more work to do.
I just would make them as generic as you can make them and cover what we're trying to do, right?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Your emails are shut off when you leave, they're not yours,
Right.
so.
And it also, like the one that you provide explains what shouldn't be deleted, when you should delete it, like what the legality is of your email, government email that we have.
So if council approves, then we can sort of use these as our base models.
Yes.
Poznanski and Trapp can confer, and then probably meet with Mark Clark to run it past him for his,
Pull some ones from different communities and,
Right.
pick and
Yeah,
choose
we
what
don't have
makes
to
sense.
recreate the wheel here, but.
No, but I would think you'd have some overriding one that says that
We
Christina
don't really need a
Catherine can
motion
pull it
right now, we
down.
just
No.
need Mark to.
right, just that the board
That we
wishes
just think
to
it's,
Okay.
go ahead.
consider it at a
Figure
next
something
meeting.
out.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, who would be an admin on the Facebook page that somebody, obviously president and clerk, and I would assume somebody on payroll in the office, so that should ever we get due president and clerk, that person in the office knows what to do, so that they're familiar with it.
Not a bad idea.
Well, a good policy, it'd be standing policy.
Right.
About how to work it,
Yes.
how to work the page and the stuff.
All right.
All right, so we'll work on that and bring that
We
back.
still have we call it an access control list, we still have a list of who can post on our Facebook page, right? Not just anybody can they?
No, we've
Yeah, so-
we've got it tight as possible
Right,
with the
so-
controls.
That policy, needs to be followed for whoever the two people are who can actually post something, or 5 people, or
Yep.
whatever it is. I don't wanna post anything, so I'm good.
You're not even on Facebook.
I'm not on
Yeah,
Facebook,
so-
I will never be on
I'm not either.
Facebook.
Okay, yeah, so, we'll take yourself out of the
And I
meeting.
don't tweet, so,
Don't tweet, don't Facebook.
You got a tweet.
I don't tweet.
No, no,
Well,
no.
that took care of H and I.
How many
That
are in
takes care,
trouble?
right, F and G.
And
And then, so, moving on, we have contract negotiations for the administration staff. It was brought to my attention that the current contract is expiring at the end of June. This contract, although it doesn't have a union representative, it does pretty much cover our department heads. So police chief, DPW supervisor, and the 3 office staff. It does not apply to myself, any elected officials, myself, Catherine, or the treasurer.
Just the
And-
non-union employees.
Yes, and everybody else is pretty much pretty much covered. So I was just hoping that the board would support me, reviewing this, maybe looking it over with Mr. Petrino, our consultant, and then bringing back a recommendation.
Yep,
Yep.
that's,
This is the current one.
This is the current one, yes. This is the current one. So there's no bump in salaries, in there, because it's expiring, so you can see what it was and the pay holiday, so I'll work on that and then report that
do you
back.
want any resolution or anything, or just?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a resolution and ask our president to confer with Petrino if needed and come back with a recommendation for the new contract for non-union employees.
Okay.
Will there be a cost from?
Support.
Just 4 pages is the entire non-union contract?
Apparently.
It's pretty complicated.
Right?
Pretty easy.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. It's a little bit slimmed down from the union contract, so.
Okay.
We have a motion by support, we have a motion by Hart, we have support by Edwards, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so I'll work on that. Next on the agenda, we have DDA office space lease. Lisa Hall asked me to put this on our agenda just, again, for general discussion. I mentioned to her several months ago, and then we discussed it briefly at the last DDA meeting, that since we revamped the village offices, we took out those desks and those walls. We had that moved upstairs, and we established a little cubicle utilizing those, the desks upstairs. And I thought, why is the DDA spending $3,600 a year on rent? Lisa's in the office 1 day a week. We have the space available, and sort of offered it. So she suggested that I just at least bring it before the board to see if anybody would be opposed to that.
That's a great idea.
I
think
do
it's a
not
great
know.
idea.
I don't know what the legalities are. I would have to confer with Mark
We
as
can't
far
have a
as
meeting up there, a public meeting.
Right,
We can't
they're
where we're
aware
at
of that
now,
because it's not
right.
ADA compliant, but I don't know if we need to formalize a lease
Can't
for,
where we're at now.
$1 or, but-
Resolution?
yes.
Like to
Here we go.
make a resolution to have Christine look into it with Mr.
I
Clark.
would think it's
as to-
$3,600.
I would recommend that you do that. It doesn't have to be an inch thick, but I would set out in writing the parameters so everybody knows what's expected of each other. I just think it would be a
Because
good
there'd be
idea.
a phone line or something.
She has a cell
Plus your
phone,
cell
so she would use a phone line. My thought was, well, what about the copy machines? Did we have to take a look at any of the, office equipment that we're using? I don't know, but I'll address that
You
with
can-
Mark
right.
and hash out what we think
Is
maybe
there
Monthly,
any sort of
whatever
security issue
consumables
that
they
she's
use.
coming into the village offices with all the materials and such, and she's not an employee technically of the village?
She's a sworn in, no, she's not sworn in because she's hired.
Is she bonded?
Yes, I believe she is bonded, so we would just have to make sure that we're covered by that.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Just for the record, this is probably what we print the entire year.
I know.
Well, your board packets?
Yeah.
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 It's probably, we don't print a lot.
It's just a little light reading, Randy.
Just saying, we won't use a lot of office
No.
materials, right?
So we had a motion by Bartholomew.
Did you get everything?
Did we have
I'll
support?
support.
Okay, support
I
by
I don't think
Hart
we paid
to
3,600.
have me.
Is it that high?
That's-
It was to investigate
Yes.
a lease
Resolution
potential.
To have you
Was
investigate.
it
Yes.
I
12?
thought we dropped it down.
Me too.
Okay.
It was only for a few, we just redid it like a couple years ago, I thought.
I thought it was lower than that, but
Are we good?
it's not
All right.
nothing.
We're at the last one, people.
Wait, we
Oh,
didn't
no, I
vote.
think we're done.
We did, well, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we had the agenda item policy that trustee Poznanski wanted to add.
Yeah, I had asked for an agenda item to be added to one of our budget meetings. We went back and forth about it. In the end, I guess my biggest question is, how does a trustee add an item to the agenda? Where is the policy on that, other than this is just how it's always done?
Is it in your rules of procedure?
But I would
So-
think that you
so
could
we-
contact, just like you added the two before.
Well, when I respectfully asked for it to be added, I was told that no.
But that was at a budget workshop, and that's not a regular meeting that we
It's a
conduct
special
business.
meeting, there's either meetings or special meetings, and
Yeah.
all decisions
Well,
can
we
be
have
made at all
work,
of
if you
them.
read we have workshops
But
too.
that's not legal. You
It's
can
not
call-
legal?
You can call it a workshop, but if you look at
Well-
the agenda title, it's a special
Right.
meeting. We post it, we take minutes, it can still have a decision.
But we agree that if we're gonna hold a workshop, and if you wanna call it a special meeting, but the purpose is a workshop, we have agreed in our procedures that we aren't gonna conduct business at that.
Well, I
So
would think you'd want to have a limited subject matter on there because you want to be focused on whatever's the
Right.
agenda item versus.
And you're not expecting a vote.
And that
There
was
was a
my
time a
reply.
few years ago in a budget meeting that everybody was blindsided. It was the DDA. And they were blindsided with an agenda item.
I didn't
And
do it.
it was at a budget meeting. And it was, so we stopped that. So the procedures,
Right.
normally at a workshop, we don't conduct business. We aren't expecting to conduct business.
Plus as a trustee, maybe your need to make it to the workshop isn't as great as your need to make it to the regular meeting, so you'd want items on there that
Right.
And I guess if
are
something was
specific to
urgent,
budget. Yeah, if it's
That-
an
that- that-
emergency.
that
if there's
was-
an urgency, then we would want to take
That was
advantage
the
of the time.
communication, that is this a pressing matter? We prefer to not put it on a budget workshop meeting. Can we please just add it to the agenda for our next regular business meeting, which is exactly what happened.
Which was fine, they were not an emergency, and
Right.
I let you,
Yep.
like, no, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
However, I'm saying it led to, well, what is the policy to a trustee putting an agenda item on your own meeting?
So you, again, we can policy ourselves to death, but I think it's just that you make the request, and then if it's not,
It's not unreasonably refused. I mean,
Right.
I've never had a problem
and
with
if
that.
it is, then at the meeting, you can always request to have the item added to the
Agenda.
agenda before we approve that, so.
Correct, but
I
it would
think it
just be
takes-
nice to have, to be put on there beforehand, so everyone.
The one thing I don't like about last minute agenda items, if there's something the public wants to know about, they read the agenda, it's not there, and then all of a sudden it pops up.
That's kind of like,
That's my.
I could add it,
But-
I absolutely could add it at the last meeting, heck, I could talk about it during the trustees report.
Right.
However, no, we couldn't make a decision on it that night.
I'm saying the regular meetings, the special meetings, I don't think you add anything to, but keep them focused on why we're there. This meeting is every item on the list.
Right, and addressed, so.
I can understand wanting a budget meeting to just be a budget meeting, completely understand, that's why I offered first to Clerk Trapp, hey, I wanted to put these on, is it that, do you want it just budget, or can we add it on there? I didn't know, earlier, we had a special meeting called to go over all of the, possible projects for the village, that you had called.
The goals and objectives meeting?
Yes, and then when we got here, there was other things added to it, so I assumed you could add, we were all okay with adding things to special meetings.
Yes. All right, so any board action on that, or we'll just move on to number 12, our public comments? Is there anybody from the audience that wishes to address this board on any non-agenda items?
I just wanted to make a comment.
Please stand up. Yeah, tell us who you are,
Hi.
where you live.
I'm Vincenza. My parents live in the village. I live in Washington Township. And I'm basically here, this is gonna be a nice, little, friendly announcement, but I am on the board for Romeo High School's 1979 reunion, so 40 years. Hello, Randy. So some of these people know me.
I was worried why you were here.
No, I wasn't here for that reason. I
You
just
might want
wanted
to talk into the camera then,
No, it's okay.
because
But-
that's who you want to invite.
That's okay, they'll hear this, right?
Yes.
Hi, everyone from Romeo High School. So we are gonna have a 40-year reunion at, now why am I having a,
Because it's 40 years.
yeah, at
Yeah.
Youngers.
Right.
It's gonna be at Youngers from 5 to 8, August 31st, which is the Saturday of Labor Day. To make it easier for all those who come home for that special Peach Festival, you know, that's a big thing for us. So we're gonna do a simple 5 to 8 for the Romeo 79ers. And then from 8 on is open to anybody who's graduated, you know, from Romeo High School and for the public. So it'll be upstairs, and what prompted me to do this is because Randy is not on Facebook, and I hope you don't mind me disclosing this, but you are a high school sweetheart couple, and we'd love to have you there. So
Can we take public comments off the future agenda items?
So, anyways, I wanted to announce that for those people who are not on Facebook. so that they know, that they
Alright.
can come and join us, 5 to 8, August 31st, at Younger's upstairs for 79. And then,
Tell them how they get tickets.
oh, check out the Romeo Class of 79 Facebook page, and all the information will be there.
You can't get a ticket.
I am also going to set up a way for them to pay online or send a check. So I haven't done that yet. We're getting through some personal things, and I'll move on to the Romeo High School reunion.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wanted
See
to
ya.
address this board this evening? If not,
I do
Motion
have
to
one last
adjourn?
thing that I forgot.
Close that, okay.
Trying to do a scavenger hunt for the village. I need people to offer their houses and volunteer if we want this to happen, so please.
Do they get them back?
right?
So people go in the houses, is it inside or
No,
outside?
you walk on the sidewalk, you look at the houses, it's basically getting people to all corners of the village. I want them to see more, but also it is encouraging people to walk the businesses. We have put the businesses into it. Somebody gets drawn and wins a gift certificate, so please, people, volunteer.
I'm gonna put my water meter on the scale.
Somehow Cheryl heard about this. You must have put it up
I put
somewhere.
on Facebook requesting help.
Talked about
And
it.
she actually was somewhat interested in it, so.
All right.
You
Yeah,
talked
well,
about
some
it.
people don't get to volunteer, they're just gonna be
How
on
do
it.
we contact you? If they're interested, how do they contact you?
Facebook page,
Okay.
the Downtown Romeo, Michigan Facebook page, or you can email me at megski, MEAGSKI, @yahoo.com.
Or contact the village and leave you a note? There we go.
Perfect. Hold your motion just for one quick second. I wanted to invite everybody to come out to the annual Memorial Day Parade in the village. It is 10 o'clock on Monday.
Yes, thank you.
On Monday. Please come out and support all of our vets up at the cemetery, or join in the parade if you have a troop, group, kids that want to ride their bike in the parade. Any all-comers are welcome to sign up through the VFW to be in the parade. So that's Monday at 10
Motion
o'clock.
adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
There we go.
All right.